Phones 100 Years Ago by Allison Lassieur. This book discusses turn-of-the-century telephones and how they looked and worked much differently from the early 1900s to today. Hello? The first telephones. Alexander Graham Bell invented the telephone more than 100 years ago in 1876. By the early 1900s, telephones were part of daily life. Different kinds of phones. The most common phones were called candlestick telephones. They were tall and thin, like candlesticks. People talked into the round mouthpiece on the top, and they put the earpiece to their ear to listen. Wooden wall telephones were shaped like boxes. They had nicknames like coffin and fiddleback. The mouthpiece and the earpiece were separate. The caller turned a crank to make a call, and the cord was short. Anyone who talked on these phones had to stand near the phone. Desk phones were called cradle telephones. The receiver rested in the cradle. The receiver had a handle with both an earpiece and a mouthpiece. Making a call. 100 years ago, most phones didn't have dials or buttons. The caller picked up the receiver and spoke to an operator. Most operators were women. Telephone companies thought women had nicer voices than men. Every call lit up a button on a big electronic switchboard. The operator plugged in cords and flipped switches to connect the calls. Most calls were not private. Many families shared one phone line called a party line. Payphones. Payphones had coin slots for nickels, dimes, and quarters. After someone made a call, the operator told the caller how much to pay. Sometimes there was only one phone in a whole town. The phone was usually near the general store. Everyone in town used it. Today, it is hard to imagine life without a telephone. Glossary. Candlestick telephone, a telephone in the shape of a tall, thin candle holder. Earpiece, the part of a telephone that the caller listens from. Mouthpiece, the part of a telephone the caller talks into. Operator, a person who works at a phone company and helps connect phone calls. Switchboard, the control center or panel for connecting the lines. Invent, to create something that has not been thought of before.